my life when I'm actually directly talking to all those and learning a lot from them, to be honest. And so I won't take much time. And thank you so much, Preeti ma'am, for giving me this opportunity and giving and have such a wonderful introduction about me. And I'm just wanted to share a brief info. Me and Preeti ma'am have been associated. I think this lockdown has got all of us so close and so. I mean, there's some personal touch because of lockdown only, and this is the lockdown effect that we have been associated as a LinkedIn family now. And I think this is the best and the positive side of the lockdown. I'm thankful to God that this lockdown has happened and we have come so close to know each other in a personal way, in a professional way. So first, I'll start with Miss Tesa Patel. We are here to talk about, you know, this session is all about the literacy and the numeracy, why this is important in the early childhood. So we will talk about and we will have a discussion with all of our senior leaders that what they think and why is it important, what according to them. So to start with Kesa Patel ma'am, I'll just briefly introduce Ms. Patel. She's a founder principal of Zen International School. She weaves stories around school management and education. She's passionate about teaching and can talk at length about the dynamics of school management and education. She's an educationist since 20 years, a versatile writer and a storyteller, a founder principal, vivacious and veracious speaker who motivates us and all. She's a published author as well as she's blogger, and I can share the site with all of you. In fact, I would request Ms. Patel to share their blogging site and let us know about something about their blogging passion as well. And then we can start with the questions. I'll just shoot out the questions to all of you. So Ms. Patel, over to you.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone out here, and thank you, Rabia, for a wonderful and ornamental description of me. Well, I'm a very simple person, basically, and yes, though I'm a very passionate educator, as all of us are on this panel, and that is why we are sharing this wonderful stage of speaking about education and early childhood and importance of literacy and numeracy and all that. Well, blogging actually started way back in around 2017 when I didn't know exactly what blogging was, but I just wanted to note down my ideas and put it up, publish it somewhere on the internet. So I started a blog, and I have a blog named as www.wonderfulteachertips.blogspot.com. So over a period of years, you can see that my writing has actually evolved and matured, and I've covered a variety of topics for teachers, educationists, and a few for school at the school management level also. So that is what all blogging is all about. It's totally a passion based thing. Whenever I feel like it, I write a lot. That is it. So that is the writer side of me. Apart from that, yes, we all write articles and get them published in different magazines and e-magazines and all that. That has been going on since a long time. And it's really wonderful to be here on this panel today and discuss something which is in early childhood. It is actually very important, very, very important topic, because the development of a child actually starts from the minute the child takes birth, that all of us know about. So but the point is that the parents often are not aware that how the child is picking up the literacy and the numeracy skills. And see, literacy basically means only reading and writing. But when we speak about numeracy, it involves a lot of concepts. Now, reading and writing, of course, cannot start since the moment the child is born. But that is what is language development that starts at that particular point of time. Literacy develops as the child grows up. But the seeds for this literacy or reading and writing patterns are very well sown when the child is very young at age. So the more the parents expose a child to pictures, that is the first reading that a child does. So exposure to pictures is what the child picks up in reading. So books, like just books of things or animals or things like that, actually brings up a lot of literacy thing among them, and it actually sows the seed and starts the seed starts sprouting at that time. But these small matters, parents are not aware either, or they ignore it a lot. And then when the child reaches an age of generally it is grade 1 when the child comes and the formal education starts in India in CBSE, and then the child encounters reading problems. So the immediately the parent is concerned, the teacher is concerned, everyone is focused that, oh, the child is not reading, my child doesn't know how to read. Similarly, rote learning cannot be weaned out totally, it is still there in the system to some extent. So all the problems start then. So basically, literacy would go back to, I mean, to the time when the child is born. If we can make the parents understand that, that's a very important concept.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much, Ms. Patel. We would come back to you, and
Sure.
we'll shoot out the second question once again. So coming to Ms. Ms. Sunita, ma'am. Sunita, ma'am. So first, I would like to introduce ma'am. She is the founder principal of VLS International Public School. For her, the challenges are the testing tools, and she says that we need to embrace all the challenges if we really want to know our own hidden area of excellence. Wow, lovely. So she accepts the challenges to grow basically. For her, the challenges are not only challenges, for her, the challenges are the learning towards the success actually. So Sunita ma'am, over to you. Why don't you let us know something about literacy? Why is it important for in the early childhood?
Yeah, thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Rabia. And it's a great pleasure to share screen with amongst all the educators over here and saying a bit what I know about education. According to UNESCO, the literacy, foundational literacy and numeracy has been defined like this: ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute printed and written materials associated with varied context. And the numeracy has been defined as the knowledge and skill required to effectively manage and respond to mathematical demands posed by diverse situations involving objects, pictures, numbers, symbols, formulas, diagrams, maps, graphs, tables, and text. Ability to order, sort, count, estimate, compute, measure, and follow a model. So we are all aware that this is the SDGs goal laid by the UNESCO, and it has to be achieved. We in NEP also seeing the same vision or objective for the same. So if I have to talk about literacy, why it is necessary, unless and until literacy is developed, the child will not be moved further. But we see a lot of hurdles in developing these literacy and numeracy skills. The first one is to be ready to learn. The child should be physically fit, and psychological health should be appropriate. Cognitive and non-cognitive skills should be inherent, and the child should be regular to school. The reasons are maybe illness, lack of nutrition, sleep, exercise, and playful recreation. These are some of the things noted by the educationist, and also the poverty and social economic condition. In Western countries, ECE is seen as investment in health and well-being of the child. 0 to 3 is seen as cognitive development, language development, social emotional improvement, while parent skills are also improved. This has been seen, and it has been measured. So the focus is on the child's and parents' relationship. It is very essential that the child has early literacy and numeracy skill. These are some of the factors which develops the numeracy and literacy skill. According to the research, I have some data here. The low learning level is seen, and increased dropout rate is seen, and inappropriate language and math skills has been observed according to the survey done by NCERT. And 67% in English language, and mathematical skills 63%, and EVS learning is 64% in up to 3rd grade. And in 5th grade, it is 58% and 53% and 56% respectively in 5th grade. So we can see that there is a drop in the learning capability. It is because the foundation is not strong. Unless and until the foundation is not strong, the child will not see the surge in the learning skills. So it has been observed that we used to take literacy separately and numeracy separately. After the research, it has been found that it cannot be in isolation. It has to go hand in hand. And to get the optimum results, it should be taken together under one roof, and it is integrated program. So,
wow, ma'am.
Yeah.
Very impressive data, actually. Thank you so much for sharing such a wonderful information about the data of this literacy and the numeracy. And so we will come back to you with the second question. Thank you so much. I would now request Prasad sir to share something about himself, as well as I'll just give a brief about P Square. P Square is a dynamic learning institution. We are committed to the objective of providing continuous education and teaching of mental arithmetic using abacus and Vedic maths for the children at the age of 4 to 16 years. Our training is aimed at developing and enhancing the intelligence of the children, leading towards the brain development with unique teaching methods. With an experience of over 15 years, having 50 plus centers, 8,000 students, and 50 traders. So I now request Prasad sir to share about this P Square. How did he get this idea to start this organization? And how did he get this idea to start with these webinar series and calling all of us together on one wonderful platform to share our thought process about the state? So Prasad sir, may I request you to please come forward?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rabia. You've really spoken well. Thanks a lot to Preeti. It's all because of her, as she said, her association with me, and she's been taking efforts to see that everybody comes on a common platform. But listening to all you eminent panelists and all of you educators, I think I'm in the right business. When ma'am says yes, numeracy is very important, yeah, that's what we are into. We are trying to work on numeracy skills for the children, and we've been doing that since last almost 15 years. Yeah, so it was basically like-minded people who came together. We've been together since last 15, 16 years. So all of us came together in the year 2016 and thought of forming the P Square family. And that's how we started off with just around 500 students. And today we are almost around 8,500 to 9,000 students who are being trained for all kinds of numeracy skills, mental arithmetic through Vedic maths and abacus. And yeah, we've been doing it in a lot of schools across Maharashtra presently. We want to spread our wings across the globe. And that's how we thought this is a platform where we could reach to all the people across the globe and give them an in-depth knowledge about what we're doing. We also have a lot of competitions on which we emphasize, basically at the zonal level, the state level, at the national level, where these students are tested on their numeracy skills actually. And that is where we get to see that the speed and the accuracy is what we work on. We work on the listening skills, and yes, this is what we want to take forward from here. And we wish that we could all join together and help students improve their numeracy skills and the literacy skills both. So thanks a lot, Rabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So coming to Anubha ma'am. Now, I would like to request Anubha ma'am to come forward. And Anubha ma'am, she is the principal for DISH, and she is a visionary principal with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry. And alumnus of Springdale's Lucknow. She's a science graduate and postgraduate from Patna Nagar University, pre-doctoral experience of molecular biology from NSIT New Delhi, Having taught across various levels from kindergarten to PhD, postgraduate students adds to the wide spectrum of her experience. She is associated as educator member of inace.org. So now I would request Anubha ma'am to share her information and thought process about why is literacy so important. And I would also want to ask Anubha ma'am, does it only involve the speaking skills, the literacy, does it only involve the speaking skills of the student or only the listening skills, or both actually, and why and how? So Anubha ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you, Rabia, for such a comprehensive introduction. I treat myself as a learner into the process of education, which is really very vast. And with all of you here, I do hope to learn a lot. When I see literacy and numeracy, and I went through the new education policy suggestions as well, it always takes me back to our Vedic roots of education. We have been following Gurukul Parampara. Literacy and numeracy, when we start from early years, does not involve the reading skills, does not involve the mathematical skills, but it is the earlier concepts. And as was rightly pointed out by Sunita ma'am, it is more, Sunita ma'am also mentioned it, Kesar ma'am also mentioned it, that it is quite a lot to do with the pictures and the storytelling. End of the day, any parent sending a child to the school is looking into the 21st century skills inculcation. They are looking into what is going to become of my child when the child passes out of the school. So whether it is creativity or imagination, whether it is problem solving, logic, critical thinking, and top of all these things are the human values. Nothing can be told to a child through ways of writing, through ways of solving numericals. It all comes from very early ages where the children are listening to stories, they are interacting with their family, they are interacting with their friends, they are interacting with the teachers, but of course, and they are developing these skills. So the early ages of numeracy and literacy skill has a lot to do with the speaking skills and the listening skills in literacy, and has got to do a lot with the pre-math skills, which is knowing the concepts of colors, of shapes, of bigger, comparison, bigger, smaller, before, after, up, down. So these are the skills which helps them comprehend, put things together logically, and the stories and the anecdotes and the interaction, and leaving them out to play in a protective environment, telling them to eat. If you recall your schooling, your love for a subject comes from a teacher, not from the subject. So that is what the role of school is. The role of the school is to inculcate the similar kind of value in their parents' fraternity, in their school stakeholders. And obviously every school has got its own niche population. So defining anything at such a wider platform will become very difficult. Every school has to take a model there according to the kind of population that they are catering to. But yes, this platform I see as a very beautiful platform, because I assume we have educationists here from various fields. We have parents also here, I assume. And therefore, the involvement of parents becomes very important to understand these concepts. Today's life, with many of our parents thinking that the school begins at preschool 2+ age or 3+ age for a nursery class, it does not mean that when they're sending a child to school, their job is done. We are only providing one short period of interaction for the children from schools, and we expect a hand-holding from the parents. It's kind of a golden handshake. So if the handshake is strong, then Prasad sir is going to find beautiful children who will be able to juggle with the abacus and Vedic maths. Otherwise, there's going to be a struggle.
I agree, ma'am. Very well said. Very well said. In fact, being a parent, I can understand what kind of role a parent has in their child's life, actually. Basically, it's it's a two-way process, and it's not a parent. It cannot be a parent only. Parent has to be kind of guru as well, because most of the time, and in the early childhood, a child stays at home only, unless it spends less time at school. But having said that, ma'am, I have a question. Being a parent, now I would like to understand how a child develops these skills basically just by looking at the picture about, or just by listening the rhymes or the songs basically, because they can't talk. The child cannot talk in the early years. They can only express, and we can only talk through our actions, our facial expressions. So can you just guide us how as a parent they will understand that what all they can do to make their child understand these skills and help in their brain development factor?
Okay, I think my previous knowledge of biology comes handy here when I talk on these lines. There's a principle of memory formation, which is also learned in the neurological pathways in the child development process. So in any kind of memory development, anything that is repeatedly exposed to you, that leads to a stronger neuron connection, and that later on develops into a memory. So when I'm saying one, I said one once and the child forgets. But when I say one bird and one squirrel and I say one apple or 5 apples, so it is a process of repetition which is leading to development of concepts in child. Okay. Therefore, listening is because when a child is unable to speak, the total comprehension is happening from listening. We have children of all levels. There are children who develop vocal proficiencies at a very early age. There are children who take time. They might have certain speech limitations, and the parents will see a difference. The second child always speaks a little later. The first child starts speaking very early. The second child takes a little more time, because what happens is, by the time the parents have groomed one child, they have gained proficiency to understand the sign language. So they start interpreting the sign language of the first child at a very early stage, and the second child at a very early stage, earlier than what they did for the first child. And then the younger child will believe that it is okay to communicate non-verbally, because whatever I'm expressing is getting understood. So normally for a normal child also, a younger child will take longer to develop language skill as compared to the elder child. It's a normal process. So these kind of differences are negated when we are exposing the children more to visual and listening exposures than promoting the child to speak or write or express in any other form.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was really wonderful to know this information. Actually, it is actually very important for as a parent. In fact, so we'll come back to you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would thank you, ma'am. So I will now request Dr. Shunila Joy Chauhan to come forward. She's a principal at Thakur International IGCSE and A levels. She's a global goodwill ambassador, senior educator with INACE. She is experienced principal with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry, skilled in coaching, lesson planning, educational technology, instructional design, and English, strong education professional with a Master of Arts focused in economics and political science from Mumbai University. Ma'am, over to you. I have a question for you with respect to the numerology. Basically, not numerology, numeracy. Numeracy basically is the ability to apply maths concept in all areas of life. So I would like to request you to please share your feedback or your thought process that how can a child develop numeracy and math skills through everyday activities. I would really request you to share this information with all of the parents as well as the teachers and the educationals.
So thank you so much, Rabia, for the introduction, and it's really a pleasure to hear all the the opinions of all the other panelists, because it's really a learning, as we are also all lifelong learners. There's so much we learn from listening to each other. So talking about numeracy, in fact, it is all about how you develop it, because children, right from the time that they are born, they start off with the communication skills. And even when a child cries, he is actually communicating he's hungry. And then, as one of our panelists had rightly, pointed out, that each child develops differently, and some are able to be understood before, and some later. But developing numeracy starts right from home, when our child actually probably brings the feeding bottle and shows he wants more. He himself already knows he wants more. So we have to use day-to-day things. So sometimes, as parents or as educationists also, we become very, very theoretical. We want it on paper. But if the child has understood that this thing is more and this is less, he's already reaching there. So I think day-to-day examples are really what are required. And yes, in our international board, we do that. And I'm sure the other boards too, because I know for a fact that teachers work so hard, whether it's immaterial of which board we follow, to make children understand, because those are the foundation years. These are the years when everything is built on that. So estimation, then actually, even if they don't read or write at that stage, it doesn't matter, because when we use concepts like, say, this is more and this is less, by having the open mouth that this is a greater sign and this is a lesser sign, children are so excited that uh, even if they're not writing it on paper, they have understood it. And then when we start off with our rote learning to an extent, the one, two, three, when we explain it to them, they have to know that too. It's not that we just show them things and everything is only practical. Yes, it's all blended. Practical as well as the written word is important. So to develop numeracy skills, I think more than anything is as exposure. As we were discussing, let them play, let them find out. Play is something which is, I think, the most important in a child. And very often we as parents also punish our children by saying, you won't go down to play. Actually, it's just like saying you won't learn. Yes, we do have to, of course, discipline kids and we do have to tell them where they go right and wrong. But play is where they learn. And they learn so much even about uh, numbers, and when they're counting and they're playing. And that is, of course, when they're a little older. But monitored play, when we give them the right kind of toys, when they're assembling things, when they actually their fine motor skills are developing, their fine motor skills and gross motor skills are developing, numeracy gets built in automatically, because numeracy and literacy will go hand in hand. And when we talk about children being, different kinds of learners, they are visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners, and that development starts right from day one. You see that some children respond better when they hear something, and so often our children tend to go on singing that same rhyme over and over again, because, yeah, they have heard it. Probably they can't even read it at that stage, but they keep on listening, and that keeps getting built in. And then some visual. Nowadays, we have media, which is so, it can be used so properly also, of course, with a lot of monitoring, where children can just click with a click, the children can be directed to a site which is going on showing them things as well as they are listening to it. So I'm sure we've all experienced it, that our children are better at our cell phones than we could ever be. So you just give it to them and they figured out things. A little child can go to YouTube today. That's because he's born with it almost. He sees us on it. So we are spending so much time. So he is curious and he starts using it. So we can use technology also to develop numeracy skills. And there are so many educational sites which we all know we could use, and which we use in our school also. I've seen my team of teachers, they're all here today, and how much they use technology. And each session is so much fun for the child. So they blend it. It's not that we just use technology, we use technology, practical skills, and children are given that much freedom also for music and movement, and they're learning. So they're singing, they are experiencing the environment, and they're learning. So development of both the skills come hand in hand, because that's what's required for life, whether it is handling day-to-day life, handling money later on, just probably just saying that get two carrots from the fridge. My mother is cooking, says get two carrots from the fridge. She's told him, he brings three. She says no, one less, bring two. I don't want this. He's learned something, right? So everything begins from the home. It's reinforced in school through constant repetitions, and that is something that at each stage of his life, whether he's going down, each stage of his day, whether he's going down to play, whether he's at home, whether he's in school, he's learning. And right now, even on the online lectures and all the classes that we have, children are learning so beautifully virtually also. They have adapted. So this is something that we are all learning, even we are learning, and the numeracy skills and therefore literacy skills are going in hand.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, information, such a wonderful information. It is really helpful for the parents, for the all the teachers who are actually teaching in the early childhood. And so now we'll come back to you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Over to Kesa Patel, ma'am. Now, so my second question to Kesa Patel, ma'am. Ma'am, as we talk about, as just Shanira ma'am said, that it is very important for the children to play. So can you please suggest us what kind of playing activities are important for the kids to learn these numeracy and literacy skills? What kind of play, in fact, if the child is at, be it at play school or a primary school or at home. So as a parent and as a caretaker, what activities we should do with the child so that they can get into these kind of skills and they can learn the Vedic maths or the numeracy or the literacy skills. They can develop these listening skills and maybe not writing skills too early. It's too early for at this early age, but listening skills and the speaking skills and the understanding of those expressions. So what kind of playing activities you can suggest us?
Yeah. See, Rabia, there are 5 elements of the earth, right? And one of the 5 elements, very important elements, is space. And this space acts a major role in a child's life. The child needs to identify spaces. The concept of spatial teaching is actually the first one which should be ingrained amongst the early childhood children. Like for example, there is a book. Now this book fits in which of the shelves? So, or for example, there are blocks. So this block, exactly this shape fits where? This is this length of pencil. So can it go in this pen stand or it cannot go in this pen stand? So this type of the spatial, the covering of the space is the first aspect according to me, which should be really ingrained amongst the children. I heard this concept somewhere when I was speaking to some people related to Vedic math only. They said that since the 5 elements are very closely related to us, because we all, our entire body is made up of 5 elements. So that is why the relativity between the space and how to fit objects in those available spaces or how to make use of the space is very, very important for a child. And for this, there are many activities which are available. Okay. The parents, I feel, see, we are speaking of early childhood, and early childhood majorly deals with the development taking place at home. The teacher or the educator in the school is a facilitator. So in the school, we have things like Lego blocks. We use it a lot because Lego blocks are something which helps them in construction, understanding the shape of the object, which shape fixes in where, and this brings about a lot of development amongst the children. It teaches a very important skill, that is problem solving. For example, the teacher has given 5 to 10 Lego blocks and asked the particular child, you make anything out of it, or a particular shape is given to the child. Now, this is a very tricky problem solving trick which involves space, which involves shapes, and which involves problem solving and coming at and arriving or finding a solution to it. So these type of things are extremely beneficial. Then see clay. Nowadays we have clay, but actually I suggest parents, if you could just go out and get a lump of mud, which is clean enough and good enough for your child to use. Better than playing with clay is like playing with mud and sand, a mixture of mud and sand. So if we could have this, it gives a lot of understanding to the children. The fine motor and gross motor skills get developed, and the child actually associates himself to the earth. What I find is at this level, the more that we focus on the child associating with the 5 elements, it brings out the best results. And there are a lot of options available, as I told you. You can go in for Lego blocks, you can go in for mud and clay. Of course, I understand that living in cities, all these are problems. So definitely clay is a very, very good option, or the dough which we make at home. So that is also an equally good option to give it to the child. So these type of things that we give to the children, they develop a lot of, within play, by using play, they develop a lot of concepts related to mathematics. Shapes also similarly, the parents should be constantly showing it to the children as well as the educators in the school. They need to constantly work on shapes. And see, mostly we understand that when I'm teaching number 1, we somehow get to focus on the picture of 1 as it is. This is 1, this is 1. But like as some of the panelists, the respected panelists very aptly pointed out, 1 is not a picture that the child has to associate himself with. 1 is that one concept, that this is 1 squirrel or 1 apple or 1 refrigerator or things like that. So these types of concepts have to be built very earlier on amongst the children to help them overcome their numeracy glitches which they find later on. So the more they get associated with these types of concepts, the more they come out with good mathematical skills. And remember, anything that you are teaching, mathematics or numeracy, anything, what happens is comprehension is automatically blended in the child. It is automatically blended in the child because the child has to understand everything. So literacy is already getting covered because comprehension is again one skill which I think Dr. Joy will agree that since being from the English background, comprehension is really difficult for a teacher to make the child understand exactly what is comprehension. Children feel that it's very easy. There's a passage, find out a question, there's a question, find out an answer, and that's done. But the real point is that the understanding that a child develops on his own or her own, that is what is more important. So while we are dealing with this numeracy concept, comprehension gets embedded in the child's understanding or the other skills that are there. So all these type of small games, if they are taken at home and in school, definitely we will have children who do not have mathophobia in future. They will be too like gelled in with yes, math. Oh wow, give me anything, give me a theorem, I can solve it. So let's say into that society, it's all a process of building up one by one construction and giving things to the children. So I feel this is what, and the point is, when we focus on education, we lose out on humor or the lightening of the situation. We are too stressed out. The parents want the children to read. So like they're buying books and telling them, I got you 100 rupee books or a 200 rupee book or this expensive encyclopedia, and you're not reading it, it's just kept. And see, understand, you have brought a book, but did you stimulate the child for that? There has to be a motivation and encouragement. Even we will not pick up and read a book which does not interest us. I will not read a book. Generally, science fiction is, I feel, very boring. I'm sorry. I think Ms. Anubhav is there from the science background. Very sorry about it. I'm not going for that. I'll go in for rather a murder mystery or philosophy as is general self-development and things like that which come up. So have some stimulation and motivation for the child. You have spent money in buying a book is not a motivation for the child. He doesn't understand the value of it. He has to be really interested in picking up that book and read. So develop that. Once that is done, you don't have to worry. The children will automatically take to reading. And for me, what still I find that reading books is much more important than reading Kindle or reading through apps. Because the concentration level that a child has while reading a book is much more than the concentration level while scrolling the screen. somehow the brain does not take that much of things inside because while scrolling the screen, they scroll back a few lines more also. Okay, let's leave it. But like book is like hardcover, somehow it gives a different impact and this thing for the children. So in short, this is it. Just take day-to-day life into a child's life and build concepts on that. It is much better. The child will should have a love for literacy and numeracy. So the more you try to make the child happy, the better he learns. That is my philosophy.
I agree to you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was so nice to hear from you all this. Exactly. In fact, I also believe as a parent that the most important factor is the child's happiness, and the child should enjoy what the child is doing. Maybe reading, maybe listening to rhymes or singing a song. I'll just share an instance. It's a little personal. I mean, but I have a nephew, 1.5 years, and he is in with the this clay play school, though the school is closed because of this lockdown. But what my sister-in-law is doing, she is doing something on daily basis in a daily life only, which is helping his brain to develop in a much faster way. In fact, she gives her the utensils to play basically, and when she makes sound, he understands that what sound, what kind of music it is. When he plays with the spoon and a plate, he understands that this is a utensil, a sound of a utensils. And when my sister-in-law plays some rhymes over the phone itself, he understands, no, this is a musical instrument which is getting played on. So that is how he's also able to develop his brain towards the sounds, towards the reading skills. Now my sister has got that cartoon books actually, which has A for apple, B for boy. So that are very motivating actually, and they're very attractive, because I feel as a parent and as an educationist, the child gets attracted to colors basically, different colors basically, and that is how the child gets a habit of reading book or just seeing a book. Actually, it helps him to or her to understand.
Actually, see, Rabia, phonology is a very important concept in language development and literacy. Phonology, and this phonology, from where does it come? How does the child develop this phonology? Obviously, it comes from the sounds it hears from its mother. So that is it, and that is what gradually leads to development of phonology, then phonemes, and of course then the language and the literacy part as it comes. So it plays a very important role.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you once again. So now I would request Anubha ma'am to, Sunita ma'am to come forward. And I would like to ask Sunita ma'am, I have a question. There's a question which is coming to my mind for so long now. Ma'am, I would like to understand, as a parent, how is numeracy and Vedic maths connected? Believe me, because since my childhood, I have not read this concept of Vedic maths. But the more I have grown as an educationist, as a parent, now my daughters are in college, so that concept is no more valid for me. But still, I have friends who wants to know that how is numeracy and Vedic maths are related to each other, and how it helps the child in understanding the maths concept basically. So may I request you to please share your learnings about it?
Yeah,
we would like to learn about it seriously.
Thank you, Ms. Rabia, for that. What I understand is, whatever the concept we are teaching, it starts with the home environment, as all my fellow educators were telling. So Vedic math is in our country. It originated in our country, and it spread across. And once again, it is coming back. There is a tendency in Indian culture, when it goes to Western countries and when it comes back to our own country, we accept it wholeheartedly. And that is what happened to yoga and Vedic math and other concepts. It has gone from India to other countries, and it has once again come back. So Vedic math is nothing but the stronger foundation for numbers. We can see that the child who is expert, who has taken a training in Vedic maths for 6 months or 1 year, so he can count without the aid of pencil or a calculator. in Western countries, we can see that the students use calculator frequently. But in India, that is not the case. We use our mind to calculate numbers. Recently, we saw that Philomena Shakuntala Devi also. She is known for calculating bigger numbers. So it is imbibed in our, it is inheritant. It is inheritant in our DNA, and it is there in each child. But only thing is we need to give that exposure, whether it is number skills or literacy skills. For example, if I have to talk about fine motor skills and gross motor skills, instead of telling them this in a class environment, we can take them to the playground and see to that those concepts are learned first in the playground, then it can be brought back to the class. So the concept becomes very strong, and it will be lifelong experience. For example, if we have to teach about shapes, we take the children to the ground and draw the circle and tell them to walk on that circle. So in that way, they develop the mathematical vocabulary also. And apart from that, they learn the concept of circle also. And when they come back to classroom, they are more strong in concepts. And in the same way, numbers also can be taught with the objects. Instead of teaching on the board or on the notebooks, we can teach them practically. They can hold the things practically when they experience it, and all the 5 sense organs are involved in that. The number concepts are more stronger than teaching on paper and pencil. And Vedic math, as we are very well aware, students calculate huge numbers. And recently I happened to meet one more young boy of 25 years, and he is doing wonderful, and he has already recorded his name in Guinness also. And he has developed a concept where numbers can be understood in a better manner. So it is all Indian concept, and Indians are sorted out because of their fluency in English and the number concepts. We are very strong when it comes to numbers, calculations. And it creates awe in foreigners when they see the calculation is done in mind, not using calculators. So it is definitely has the effect of Vedic math. The culture is there in our genes.
I agree, ma'am. Very much agree. Actually, we as Indians are going much ahead than the foreigners. And when it comes to the, calculation, my daughter has started using Vedic maths concept in her economics subject. She's the economics subject actually in second year. She's with Manav Rachna College. So she tells me actually, Mama, it is so easy to calculate anything using the Vedic maths concept. Though I am not aware what is exactly Vedic maths concept. I'm just understanding from her. Still, I'm learning from her actually, ma'am. So thank you so much for sharing this piece of information. And now I would go back to Anubha ma'am. Anubha ma'am, over to you. I would like to request you to share some piece of information with all the parents, how and what activities can be involved when it comes to numeracy and Vedic maths concept. Like, for example, when it comes to literacy, Kesa ma'am has already shared some kind of playing activities. So I would like to know from you what kind of playing activities can be used when we are at home during this pandemic as a parent to understand the numbers concept. I mean, though more or less one apple, one bird that we have understood, what all other activities can be used? So please, over to you.
Thank you, Rabia. There are many activities that the parents can take up at home, right from asking. See, as I shared earlier, it is not just pre-maths concepts that a child is, it's a age group that we are talking from 3 years to 8 years in the early years. So in this age group, it is not just the pre-maths concept, it is also the correlation with the numbers. So the child can do so many things. Okay, put it inside the cupboard, put it on the table, slide it under the window, under the table. So these are when you ask a child to do different activities at home, what the parents need to do is they need to identify the concepts or the learning outcomes that are associated with various activities. What I have done in my school is I have taken each chapter, I have mentioned specific learning outcome, and I've shared it with all the parents. And when we are taking online classes, I'm briefing I'm giving a briefing in a written form that when these activities are being done, the underlying motive is to make this concept clearer to children. So whether it is nursery class where I'm talking of pre-number concepts, or I come to class 1, 2, 3 where I'm talking of addition or multiplication, and I tell them that, okay, 1 can be written as ONE1 also. So all those concepts, the learning outcome and the associated concepts have to be clearly defined. As an educator, I feel it is very important for the parents to know, because what happens and the problem that we face is so many times they just understand that the child should know 1 plus 1 is 2. And if the child is not able to write 1 plus 1 is 2, they get hyper. So these things becomes very important. Now the activities that the parents can take up at home are all the things. Okay, bring 3 apples from the fridge, cut it into 6 slices. Now when you're cutting it into 6 slices, you may not give a knife to the child. You can show that, okay, I've cut it into these 6 slices. Can you divide how many of us are there? 1 is Papa, 1 is Mummy, 1 is you, 1 is the sister. So how many of you are there? You have 4. Can you give it to all of them? If the child tries distributing, the child will be able to give 1 each. So here the concept of fraction comes in, and he'll be left with 2. So when you're dividing, you are dividing 6 amongst 4. You are able to distribute 4. You are left with 2. So everything is not there on pen and papers. And when you associate it with Vedic maths, what was happening is you were learning faster ways of calculations, but you were doing the same concepts. So the age appropriate activities have to be taken up with the children. Counting of money. Okay, sabji wala has come. We have to purchase the sabjis from there. Take the child along. Let him hand over the money at the cash counter. Let him take the balance. Let him see whether the amount is getting matched or not. So right from taking up the concepts of places, whether it is the pre-number concepts of before, after, increasing order, decreasing order, or it is the concept of addition, division, subtraction, counting of money. Depending upon the child's age, there are various activities that can be taken up, and that must be taken up rather than doing the problems on page. That is not required. If a child is able to just see, okay, I've given 100 rupees, 72 rupees, 50 paisa is the cost. How much should I get back? And if he can do it without taking a paper and a pen, that is where the problem is solved.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really informative. Parents are, well, it was really informative, ma'am. So much for sharing these kind of activities with parents, and in fact, at the end of the day, teachers. So this lockdown has. Sorry, can you hear me? I'm so sorry. I was some network issue.
Better now, yes.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, Nubha ma'am, for sharing this piece of information. And when the parents are in the lockdown period are unable to handle their child and work from home and work at home, they are they're working, actually they are taking care of the double responsibilities. So this piece of information, these kind of activities you have shared with all the parents, this is really helpful. Now I would request Dr. Chauhan, Dr. Shreera ma'am, to come forward, and I have a question for you, ma'am. Though, you know, it is not exactly with respect to the, you know, early childhood, but to be honest, I think Vedic maths is helping all age group of students. So I would like to request you to share the piece of information, how Vedic maths is helping actually, and what is the importance of actually Vedic maths in the child's life, in everybody's life. I think we as educators also, or people who are working in the, you know, corporate sector as well, they also have to at times do the calculation in minutes and much faster in a way using the Vedic math concept. So if you could just explain how we can do that, what kind of concept we can use, what kind of, you know, Vedic maths, exactly how can it be used in daily life, for all people, not only the students, but as the professionals, basically. So I would really request you.
Yes, so Vedic maths, of course, does help us to, as rightly said, to make the calculations much faster. Our mind is able to process those things in a more analytical way and thereby come with the answers. But today's generation, since they are so much more into calculators, many of the boards also follow the usage of calculators, including the Cambridge board. So our students, we have seen they are more inclined to, since they're allowed to use it, after a point of time, they do use that. But yes, if we as parents train our child that yes, you have that, but may not always require it, we should start training our children to these simpler things. Whether it is, you know, as you all have already said, the day-to-day procedures in children, whether it is the preschool or whether it is not the normal children as in the older years, the primary, middle school, secondary, we need to make our children independent of a calculator. It's not that we cannot use it, but it's just a help. So when we were growing up, I think we have all learned that way. We have learned how to calculate. It sounds really odd now when you hear children saying we won't learn tables, whereas we did do it. You hear things like why that same thing, just a repetition, we can get the answer. But it's sad to see when a child has to punch in 12 multiplied by 12 in a calculator. It's much better that they would learn it. But somewhere, I think we have failed in that. We have allowed them to get so dependent on things which can be actually learned. These are not so difficult to memorize. So I know that tables can be derived in other ways too. Many of the calculations are there, and there are. I'm sure children have got inspired also after seeing that movie Shakuntala, and it's been like really motivating to see how one lady was compared to a like she's a human calculator, right? So it's inspired, but you'll see that when you tell them to calculate, they'll still go back to the calculator. So the only thing that we can do is just keep on encouraging them that yes, you should use it. Now, in our school, I would say all the international boards, since we do allow it, we cannot tell children, no, you cannot use it. But by example, we can help them to get a little independent of this. That's the way that we can sort of train our children. And simple calculations can be done if they are not able to memorize, which I don't think is so tough. After all, we do memorize so many things. You can memorize 10 phone numbers of your friends, right? Easily, if not more. Then why not a simple thing like calculations? So training in mental maths is important. A simple thing, when you begin your day, when you finish with your circle time, do those simple calculations. Train a child right from the beginning. That helps them to, when the mind is trained and it gets into that habit of calculating, they will. But if you just tell them that, no, it's okay, fine, you can't do it, it's okay, that you can't give up on that. We have to keep on reinforcing that. So even if it is just like before we start the day, I'm going to ask you 10 of those questions where it's a mix up of numbers and little calculations. And it's all right. You don't have to do a whole lot of corrections also for teachers. So it's not that we're trying to increase your work, teachers. It's just that you can do your mass corrections and just find out that, yes, how have you scored? That competitive spirit needs to be developed in children. That, yes, I have been able to score more. And Vedic maths, as you said, it's a part of our culture. It is in us. It's just that we have to bring it out. We have to remember that it's part of it, and we are inborn with better math, calculative ability than many. So this is a development of our numeracy skills too. And when you are going to go out in an auto rickshaw, how do you know that you're not being overcharged? Are you going to take out a calculator? these things we need to keep telling kids. Give them the thing that, you can't keep sitting and looking at your phone and calculator. You should be able to calculate that. Same with money. How do you know the child is not being fooled? Very often we've seen adults being fooled because they themselves don't know anymore. So it's just a aping of different cultures, which of course we do need to take the good from every culture. It's not that. But then uh, what we can handle, we should do it. And development of Vedic maths is inbuilt in us. We want to give it a label, Vedic maths or not, but yes, it is in us, and we should strengthen it in our children, in ourselves by example first.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really wonderful, basically. So, I mean, this is like the information that you shared with all of the parents, all the teachers. I think this is very much required during these days, basically, when you have lot to remember actually, and there is lot, and you have loads of work to do. So it is very important to train yourself with the mental maths, the Vedic maths. Very important concept for all of us. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. I have a question for Prasad sir. Just one last question for Prasad sir. I'm sure many parents would have this question. Sir, as you are providing with the Vedic maths and all, are we providing online classes during pandemic for Vedic maths and numeracy and literacy skills? So if you could please share this piece of information, I'm sure many of the parents are going to get advantage of it and would be benefited out of it if we have the online classes going on for this as well.
Yes, Rabia, we do have online classes for this. And I think this has been a boon for us because we've got students all across the globe doing this for us with us right now. And
Wow.
it's really been, yeah, I mean, we've got students even from the US and who want to learn our concept. So that's
Right.
a very good thing. I think that is really very nice. And yes, we do have online classes. Children, parents could contact us through our website, which we sent across, and they could call us anytime. We could tell them when they can join the batches. Everything, it's all possible. And yeah, we look forward to having children actually taking up this concept because as all our panelists have been saying, we've been working on this for quite some time. When Kesar ma'am said we need to be working on the motor skills. So yes, Abacus is something where we work on the motor skills, or when Sunila ma'am talked about auditory skills, the visual skills, yeah, the listening skills. This is what we actually work on. And this is what we inculcate right from the younger age. And that's how we've been going forward. That's how we think students can move ahead. But yes, we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from all of them today. And there's a lots that we can do and lots of things that we can inculcate in our own syllabus. So looking forward to it. Let's see how we can work together and let's see how we can inculcate more things into our syllabus and take things ahead from here. Thanks a lot, Rabia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I would like to thank each and every one of you, Ms. Keshav ma'am, Anubha ma'am, Sunita ma'am, Srinila ma'am, Preeti ma'am, and Prasad sir. I'm really thankful to all my senior leaders. I am happy to be associated with you, and I would like to take it forward and learn a lot from all of you. Believe me, ma'am, I'm so very much enthusiastic today that I think this is the best day during the lockdown that I am here as a moderator and speaking to each one of you individually, personally, and learning so much from you that it will also help me as a parent and as an educationist too. So thank you so much for this wonderful session to each one of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So anything, I would like to request Patel ma'am, Anubha ma'am, each one of you to one by one just give a small message for the parents and the teachers, which can actually, help them and motivate them. Still, we have a longer period to go for this pandemic. So I would really request each one of you just a small message, one-liner message to everyone, to all of us. Okay, so
Yeah, sure, Rabia. I would like to stress here. I would just like to state that see, every one of us is against rote learning. We just the minute the word rote learning is said, we deny it, or somehow we go against it. See, rote learning, even we adopt it because as when the child is small, the parent shows a picture of an apple again, then again, then again, and finally the child remembers that okay, this is an apple. Am I right or wrong? So rote learning is there. You cannot totally throw it out of the system. Make the best use of it. Don't use it to tame your child to an extent where the child cannot do anything on his own. But rote learning cannot be totally pulled out of the system. Please remember this. Don't be against it. See how you can use it for the best of your advantage, because a child learns only through repetition, and repetition is another name of rote learning. Thank you. Thank you, Rabia, for a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Aduba ma'am, one message for all of us.
I'll first want to thank each one of the participants present here, because the views of everyone has been quite enriching. To all the parents, the young or the old, I always maintain that there is no school that can substitute a family. And there is no learning that is greater than what is learned with family and friends. If we also recall our times, we remember what we learned with interactions more than what we learned from books and from blackboard. And to all the teachers, I'll say, keep competing with yourself and come out to be a better teacher than what you were earlier. There's no end to learning. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rabia.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a wonderful message. Sunita ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. When a child is born, he begins with creativity. The learning is from cradle to grave. We are all aware of it. So when a child is born, in the cradle itself, he has that observation capacity. When something is hung, he keeps on observing that. So the learning starts from there. And when he sees a face, he observes very closely. So we cannot deny the fact the child has innate ability to learn. And when the child comes, when the child comes with an environment, a lot of intervention happens. That's how the creativity is diminished. We keep on instructing the child what not to do rather than what to do. So a lot of negative inputs are given from the society. So the creativity is somewhere diminished. So it's already there. What I tell is at present informal schooling is happening at home. Increase that, see to that the child learns every moment. There is an opportunity in every challenge. Just take it forward and do your best as a parent. Now, all the stakeholders are involved, and it's time for the parents to show that they are equally a partner in the learning. Thank you. Thank you for all
Beautiful, ma'am. Beautiful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sunila ma'am. Please share your message.
So I think down the line, 6 months, the first thing that we have all learned, all of us, educationals, parents, children, everyone here, is to be adaptable. And adaptability has actually made us wherever we are today is because of that. Parents are so involved in the education of their child. This is a boon. This time, as Rabia was saying, so many of us have upskilled in different ways, different platforms. And for the parents also, the way the teaching is happening right in their living room, and they are able to participate so much in it. Enjoy this time and remember all the 21st century skills that we want to bring into our children are done by the family and your educators and everyone there. Your friends, the children who are not able to play also with their friends, are now interacting online with them. So make the most of it and let's all learn a lot more and let's see what's down the line. Okay. Thank you, Rabia,
Thank
for
you.
this wonderful session and to every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. And Preeti ma'am, please share your message. Yes, Preeti ma'am. Ma'am, I can't see you.
Yeah. You cannot? Rabia, can you see me
Yes,
now?
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So please share your message, ma'am.
Yes,
Please.
sure. I would like to share the message what I believe in. I believe in like one should learn till his or her last breath. And I would say to everyone that keep learning, keep soaring, keep rising. Learning is the only mantra and it is going to work for each one of us.
Absolutely, ma'am.
you.
I totally agree with you. I completely agree with you. So, and Prasad sir, would you like to share your message, please?
I would just like to say a big, big thank you to all the panelists, Dr. Sunila, Anuva ma'am, Sunita ma'am, Patel ma'am, all of you. Learned a lot from you today. Seriously, it's been a wonderful session, Preeti ma'am. And Ravi, you've been too good. So you've
Thank
really moderated the session very well, and looking forward to many more such webinars with all of you. Thank you very much, Ravi. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, everybody.
Thank you, all of you. And stay tuned for rest of the people, for rest of the audience, rest of the parents,
Thank you.
teachers.
Yeah, thank you to all the participants and all the family members of P Square who are available here right now.
Absolutely. So stay tuned with us for our upcoming session on 23rd. Till then, have a great weekend. Enjoy. Tata. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Can I take this one last moment to
Yes,
address
ma'am.
Kesar ma'am?
Definitely.
This is-
Yes, sir.
This is personally for Kesar ma'am. Kesar ma'am, I'm a science person, but I have throughout my life been a literary person writing poems and stories.
Wow.
So science is a technical subject. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.